Hi viewers, welcome you once again to Micro Learning. This is Shailaja. So, previous classes we were discussing regarding consumption and investment function. We saw the various concepts that comes under consumption and investment function. We have seen what is consumption function, what is the formula for it, C is equal to F of Y. Then we saw a calculation. Then we saw about the various technical attributes for consumption, that is average propensity to consume, average propensity to save, marginal propensity to consume, marginal propensity to save. We saw their equations as such. So today again I am going to continue with chapter 4, okay, consumption and investment function. Today we are going to see 4.2.3 as such. Okay, in this we are going to see about Keynesian psychological law of consumption. So Keynes has given a psychological consumption. What does he say? As the income increases, okay, again I repeat, as the income increases, the consumption also increases. But you cannot agree to this because there are possibilities of changes. Because always when income increases, consumption need not increase. Okay, a part of it may be saved, but majority of us see that when our income increases, we change our consumption pattern. So that's what we are going to see in today's 4.2.3 part. So what is Keynes says? Keynes has said the form of consumption function, okay, the basis of consumption function is supposed to be psychological. How does a human think? How does a human react? That's how the consumption pattern changes. It varies from person to person. So, the fundamental psychological law is always prior to our knowledge. That is, our human nature is how, we see that we spend our income on consumption. Okay, so as your income increases, the consumption increases. So the law implies that there is a tendency or a part of the people to spend on consumption less than full increment of income. That is, a part of it has been saved, the part of it has been spent for consumption. So the law is applying that people to spend on consumption less than the full increment of the income. You need not spend the whole income for consumption purpose as such. You can consume at a lesser amount. So there's a picture here. See, when your house, your income, when it is at 2,000 rupees, okay, you had 2 chairs. Now your income has increased. What has happened? We are spending that for buying few more chairs to the office purpose. Okay, so consumption increases, but it is not equal to the income rise as such. So suppose if you are going to get an income, say from 50,000 to 60,000, that 10,000 rupees you are not going to spend for entirely for consumption purpose. A part of it is being spent for consumption purpose, and part is being kept aside as savings. So let us come to the Keynes law is based on the following assumptions. So always when these economists, they frame laws, there are certain assumptions, that is, it can be this way, it can be the other way around, and all these things. So here Keynes also has given some assumptions. The first one is ceteris paribus. Okay, there is a possibility of you for children to get what is ceteris paribus as compulsory question also. So what does it say? The other income distribution, taste, habit, social custom, price movements, population growth, etc. do not change, and consumption depends upon income alone. So consumption always is depend upon income alone. It does not matter about neither the income, neither the taste or habit or social price movement, population growth. All this doesn't matter. Only thing is your income is consumption is dependent on income as such. That's what ceteris paribus tells you. I hope it is clear for you. So what is ceteris paribus? The income, consumption is dependent on income as such. It doesn't matter how much is your income distribution, it doesn't matter how is your taste, how is your habit or social custom, price movement, nothing is being bothered. Okay, but everything depends upon, that is consumption depends only on income as such. This is the first assumption given by Keynes as such. Next we are going to see existence of normal conditions. Okay, when there is a normal condition, what happens? You spend according to your income and you keep on moving. But in case there is an emergency, okay, someone is falling sick in your family, what do? Your income has to be diverted for medical purpose. So in a country also, if things like that happen, for example, there is a war or there is hyperinflation, what happens at this time? The person cannot be saying, no, I cannot be consuming, I will save and keep, or I usually use my money for the future purpose. But here during war and hyperinflation, what happens? The person has to spend the entire income on consumption, because as the prices increase. Why should we go for war and hyperinflation? For example, if there is a heavy rain in a particular area, what happens? Shortage of milk, they'll say. Okay, so people, what do? The packet which is sold for 20 rupees is being sold for 50 rupees. People rush and buy because they need to consume milk. So they spend their entire income on consumption. So under normal conditions, your expenditure is more towards consumption. Next one is existence of laissez-faire in capitalist economy. Now we already know about the rich capitalist economy because they are following laissez-faire. That means no government intervention. So what happens? People are very free. They spend their entire income on consumption. So they because there is no state intervention as such. So people should be free to spend their increased income. Now, in the case of regulation of private enterprises, consumption expenditure by the state, the law breaks down. So, if there is government intervention, what will happen? This law cannot be existed. So, unless an economy is in laissez-faire, following a laissez-faire policy, there is no government intervention, so they can spend their entire income on consumption. So here, this law undergoes a certain propositions. Okay, what are the proposition tells you? When income increases, consumption expenditure also increases, but at a smaller amount, not at a larger amount as such. So consumption expenditure increases, okay, with increase in income, but it is not equal to the increase in the income as such. So that is the first property. What is the second property? Says increased income will be divided in some proportion between consumption expenditure and saving. So if your income has increased from 50,000 to 60,000, that 10,000 rupees difference sometimes partially used for consumption and the rest is being saved as such. Okay, so saving is also possible when your income increases. You need not spend your entire income on consumption purpose. Hope you understood. Third property says increase in income always leads to increase in both consumption and savings. That is always there. So if you're going to get an increment, okay, we'll be planning what to do next. Where shall we invest? How much it should be used for consumption purpose? How much we are supposed to save? So what happens here? Increase in income always leads to increase in consumption as well as savings. So for both purpose we are using our income. Now you have this calculation already you have seen. So here y is equal to 120. That is, your income is 120. Consumption is 120. So there is no savings at all. But look at the last row. You can see income is 240. Okay. How much you are spending? You are spending 220. So what is left over? 20 is left over. That stands as a savings for you. Okay. This is, they can ask you in 2 marks this with a small tabular column as such. Next one, there are some propositions. Okay. What is the first proposition? Income increases by 60 crores. Increase in consumption by 50 crores. So income is 60 and your consumption is 50. So how much you are saving there? You are saving 10 crores as such. What does the second property says? Second property says 60 more. That is 60 crores. Okay. 60 crores. In each case is divided in some proportion between consumption and saving respectively. So 50 crores and 10 crores. And the last one says, as income increases, consumption as well saving increases. Okay. So you can see it with a diagram as such. So just see what is the diagram telling you. So diagrammatically, when you look at the diagram, you can see y-axis and x-axis. Okay. What does the x-axis represent? It represents income. Okay. What does y-axis represent? Consumption. So you can see consumption on this side. So there are, you can see here, income is measured on the horizontal and consumption and saving is on the vertical. So I need not tell you once again which is vertical, horizontal. So what is the x-axis denoting? X-axis denoting the income. Okay. What is the y denoting? Saving as well as consumption. So next one. So C is the consumption function and 45 degrees line. Can you see this red line? 45 degrees line is supposed to be income consumption equality. That's why it is given C is equal to Y as such. Okay. So you have a 45 degrees line. Then you have a consumption line. What is this 45 degree line telling you? C is equal to Y as such. Now we should know what are the propositions. So when the income increases by 120, now look at the diagram. When the income increases to 120, what is your consumption? Consumption is 180. Okay, 180 as such. So here if you see 120 is your income, that is, no, when your income increases from 120 to 180. Okay, sorry, when your income increases from 120 to 180, what happens? Your consumption increases from 120 to 170. Okay, so how much is being saved here? Can you see this gap over here? This part is supposed to be, I'll again show it to you, this part here. Can you see one small dash there? That like A, you can see one small line. That is supposed to be the saving line as such. Okay. Next, if you see, the next proposition is supposed to be, now your income from 180, it is between, that is your income increased to 180 and 240. What is happening? Your consumption increases from 170 to 220. So can you see a gap over here? This is supposed to be your saving 20. So previously we saw the saving, this gap here. Now we are seeing the saving over here. So next one, increased income from 180 to 240 leads to increased consumption from 170 to 220. So 20 is being saved and before that 10 has been saved. So the 45 degrees line gap, okay, the 45 degrees line gap tells you the consumption and saving gap is supposed to be shown by 45 degrees line. So you have a worksheet. Let us see what are the questions. What are the assumptions of Keynes' law? This you have to write about cerebus paribus, then about the normal conditions and existence of laissez-faire we are supposed to write. State Keynes' psychological law of consumption. So you have to state the psychological law of consumption. Then list down the properties of Keynes' psychological law of consumption. Next, diagrammatically represent the three propositions of the law as such. So go through the slides once again. It's very easy. The concept only tells you Keynes' psychological law of consumption basically stresses on as income increases, consumption also increases. But it will not increase to the extent of the income. Okay, it is slightly below than that always. And there are certain circumstances where we are forced to spend our entire income on consumption. This is what the Keynes' psychological law of consumption tells you. So, those who are watching the channel for the first time, please like, subscribe, comment and share your views to micro learning. So, this is Shailaja signing off from you. Thank you very much.